It's time for another Galgot 100 video. This one's asset management, gold standard, 2013 to 2023. Are they talking about what the gold standard is for ships or something? This should be pretty interesting. But I think the one thing that people don't recognize is that they just named gold standard incredibly poorly. It's just whatever the I mean, I guess it's kind of hard to name, but whatever the gold standard is for ships at the moment, they try to bring some ships up to that. It's just poorly named because gold standard sounds like complete and finished. Yeah, it's more like current standard, exactly. And I think just another really bad naming convention from CIG. As always, what's new? So let's go ahead and check this out. But I think that's what they're touching on.
This is the first anyone's ever seen of the Freelancer in the engine.
God, we were such losers. He knew he had us from that moment. Holy shit. Oh my God, my character walked upstairs? What was so monumental about that?
The Vanguard, formerly known as the Bulldog. We really look forward to being able to share that with all of you. And it is also another ship that has been kind of our gold standard, is directly benefiting from these sizes and metrics that we've been doing, so we can fit every single thing in every little detailed spot possible. Yep.
We've learned the most.
Can't take components from that yet. So it was, again, the gold standard at the time, but not the gold standard.
The important thing is to get it in the game as soon as possible.
That's cool.
Even if it's just shapes. Get it flying, get it moving, see what works, see what doesn't work, and not try to build an entire ship from scratch and then get it in the game, but build the ship very simple, what we call a white box, which is more like proxy based, and then get it in where it's functional for design to start balance and testing. And then
that's before
they could
we
already
play
be balance and testing while we're actually doing the final art, and then we're just swapping things out right as we go. And then obviously we do our final pass, which is our pristine version.
All the things that bothered me on the original Hornet, I sort of wanted to fix on this new one. So that's what I did. I moved right on to upgrading the Mark I Hornet yet again. But this time it was a full upgrade. It wasn't just upgrading pieces here and there. It was sort of rebuilding the whole ship with smart normals and the proper material PBR values and everything.
The one thing about this is, this is one of the negatives of the open development that CIG has, where this is like pretty normal to do as far as I understand during game development. Maybe not to bring it to like the finished product at the end. I think that they probably would keep things pretty gray box for a much longer period and find if things are fun or whatever before bringing it up to like the polished finished state. But like going through iteration is like a normal thing, and CIG will say that all the time, is that, well, we're going to iterate and iterate and iterate, and they're always going to do that stuff. And it's one of the things that we have to suffer through, and it's not a very fun experience to play while they're iterating, and it's not a very fun experience they do something, you think that's how it's going to be, and then it doesn't end up being that way. I think that's just kind of the nature of the beast with this, and I don't think it's something you can really call them out for necessarily on some of the stuff. It seems like super normal.
And
it
so,
just sucks.
So it can hold up with all the other ships that we've been coming out with for the last year and a half.
I mean, just if you think about it, like if we change one aspect, say, on a ship, right? Like we say, okay, you know what, we want to make the thruster effects better. Let's redo our effects manager for the thrusters, right?
Well, who decides that? It's you. It's you that decides that. So instead of just going with something for a while and making the game apart, we're wasting time doing all this crap all the time because it doesn't quite look good. We need holographic everything and all this
80
other
plus
bullshit.
functioning ships right now. So that effects team has to go in to every one of those ships and change it out. It's the same.
And like, I'm supposed to feel bad at you. I'm supposed to feel bad for you for that. Who sold the ships? Who sold the ships? You did. This is your fault. I don't feel bad for you. We're like, it's this thing. They make these videos because we're supposed to feel empathetic for their situation. Why the fuck am I supposed to feel empathy for them for making general bad decisions? Like putting in 120 ships into the game before it's done. The gold standard would be figured out, and then you would develop all the ships, most likely, right? Or you would have them very loosely developed. But no, this is a decision they made. This is how they wanted to design the game, and this is their problem, not ours, right?
And if like we change
It just, this issue cannot become our problem.
how like landing gear work, and that's what happens is the game gets bigger and you change the system over or you improve
Yes,
the
but
system.
then no
around
money,
the
no
system.
game. That's bullshit. Every other company does what? They get investors. They go with a big publisher. They do. Every other company does that. So that is just objectively not true. No money, no game. No game and no money is usually what happens.
You have to also make sure it works with this huge amount of stuff that already is there. So in some ways we're prisoner to our own. I don't know whether you'd call it success, but our own ambition there.
At least he admits
What are
it.
some of what's the biggest problem we've ever encountered down the line that wasn't from a concept? Like you design a concept one way, and then when it comes time to build it, you're like, oh my gosh, this just won't work. What this?
Yeah.
The Vanguard?
Yeah.
I love the Vanguard. I love the Vanguard.
It's a really nice image. It's a really nice concept model, but there was some serious metrics problems with it. This was made without the metrics that we have when we built the ship. So, like I said earlier,
Well, that's interesting. In 2015, they had the metrics. So why didn't they stick with those metrics?
you have to fit
What
certain
was wrong
things
with
of a
them?
certain dimension into a space.
The video at the beginning was talking about the Vanguard and talking about metrics.
Sometimes you cannot keep the integrity of the visuals.
And when you say without the metrics, you mean that the metrics themselves had developed since the concept
Yes.
was done.
Yeah.
So the concept was done under one set of metrics, and then
Yeah.
the game progressed.
Yeah.
And then when it came time to build it, those metrics.
Did the game progress? Okay, so for me, is that a mistake or is that a normal thing for the metrics to progress?
No longer applied.
Yeah.
New doors had to be wider, chairs had to operate somewhat differently.
I don't know.
All the
When
components.
when that was done, I don't think we had metrics for the ship items.
There's a lot of
Ah.
functionality
It's not our character, so they had character metrics, but not ship item metrics.
there in the
Okay.
ships. Like it was a lot easier.
It's another problem. Okay, so again, I'm supposed to feel empathy for a game company that has not figured out what their game is, then decides what their game is to some aspect, says, okay, well, we need all these items to be physicalized. Okay, well, we need the character metrics to be this. So 5, 6, 7 years down the line, I'm supposed to feel bad for you and believe you when you say this is how game development is done. I don't believe you. That's it. Like, maybe the metrics change internally, but you will not have made 100 ships before doing that, right?
In those early days, I would say, because it was, there was functionality, but it was like, oh, let's just throw in a door, throw in a table. Yeah, looks cool.
We didn't quite
Whereas-
have the metrics.
Yeah, now everything has to hit metrics. Yeah, this is pre-metric, pre everything really.
That's
I mean, when we
Gladius.
started, we had none of that stuff nailed down, did we? It was a wild west. It was just figure it out as we go forward.
But Chris was just like, yeah, you need a ship for squadron. Like just get one built.
New features are ever evolving and ever being developed. But it's only when when you kind of have that feature working that you appreciate what needs to be done to kind of deliver that to the player. But yeah, we'll be going back and revisit it, going back and adding dashboard buttons and player storage and everything else that is currently required. And I expect lots of future new fun things as well.
Physical damage is a big undertaking. It's not just about ships. This is about everything in the game. And generally the top level intent that Chris has had for this system is broad. Every material in the game should be a real material, has tensile strength and all the things you would expect of a real material. So but it's also going to affect the art setup itself, because all of that stuff comes into play. Because obviously we don't want to have an aluminum on the ship. Well, maybe that's a bad example, but let's say aluminum on a ship. We don't want to have that aluminum act differently or read differently on a box on a character and do something different. So anyways, long story short, affects a lot of teams. It would be less complex if we didn't have any assets, but again, here we are a couple of years running, so we've got a lot of assets already in place that need to be updated and converted to such a system. Here we are a couple of years running, so we've got a lot of assets already in place that need to be updated and converted to such a system.
Yeah, this is their fault. This is not how games are made, but they're preaching to us about how we don't understand game development and so on and so forth. Nobody makes games like this, and this is why it's taking so long.
Another change might be that this also affects mass and also center of mass, and so our flight model will have to get updated to accommodate the more realistic physics that will get informed by the art that's generated by the artists.
That's ridiculous.
The Constellation
Just make the game fun.
Is coming with 3.14,
What is that?
the last variant of one of our original 5 pledge ships. What the hell took so long? No. Does the Constellation Taurus represent the gold standard for the entire Constellation series of starships?
Short answer, no.
Let's shift gears now to spaceships, specifically Aegis stalwarts, the Gladius, Saber, and Retaliator, and find out what it really means to be the gold standard in a pipeline that is continuously evolving to this day and beyond.
I mean, and this is when they really started saying gold standard a lot, and then they kind of stopped.
The standard pass is what we are terming this current pass on the vehicles.
This current pass
Gold
on the vehicles
is finishing the ship to...
So again, I think he explains it very well, and everybody, I think Galgot's a victim of this more than most, to be honest, is getting set on the words that are said and not listening to the statements that are being made, right? So gold standard, being set on the word gold as when a game goes gold, it's done, right? Like that kind of thing. But it's just current standard of where they are right now. So physical components, I think, component bays, and like a gun rack and a little inventory, right? That's what they were adding to them. But that standard's going to change with resource management and other things, right? It's just like getting them to the steps of where they want it to go. But now everybody is, if you listen to what he said, it's bringing them up to our current, I believe. I can go back a little bit. Exactly what he says.
The gold standard pass is what we are terming this current pass on.
What we are terming this current pass, that's all. They just fucking termed it so stupidly.
Vehicles.
Where people
gold
got
standard
fixated.
Is finishing the ship to as complete a standard as we can with the feature set that we have right now in the game.
Yeah, it's just
obviously
a
going
pass.
to go through all the ships, but we are going to focus on the ones that feature heavily in Squadron 42 first, and then we will roll on to your favourite ship afterwards.
Supporting features that have come online since that ship was released.
They haven't
that's
really
probably
done
the best way of
anything,
kind
though.
of describing what gold standard is, really. If we take the kind of Retaliator as an example, unfortunately some of the corridor spaces were just a little bit too small to allow our AI to navigate comfortably through it.
Yeah, like what's happened with AI, or not what's happened with AI, what's happened with the Retaliator. They were talking about this gold standard and then just Radio
had
silence.
to just go in and massage things around a little bit. Things that are a little bit more invasive, I guess, is things like adding big airlocks to the side of ships that didn't necessarily have airlocks in the right position. It's kind of ever evolving as well. Because as new features come online, so a gold standard.
Bro, the 600i one was a complete scam. They were about to sell the 600i again, and they did an ISC kind of feature to get people hyped about it, so they bought it. That was a fucked up one.
2 years ago might not have had the refueling ports in it. So yeah, we always joke about, oh, we've done gold standard. Do we go on to platinum standard? Like, how far do we go? But it's just like that kind of like. I guess that ever-moving line of what we want to, where we want the game to be.
It's essentially a review process of the ship to bring it up to whatever today's current Star Citizen standard is. As more, as you said, as more features, as stuff come online, adding fuel ports is a great one. Going back to the ships and going, all of these need fuel ports.
Fuel ports is a good example.
To add or how, because we didn't know how refueling was going to work when we were building those ships, but now it's going back and adding those and stuff.
But a normal game company would figure out how refueling was going to work and then build the ships. A normal game company would figure out how cargo was going to work and then build the ships. A normal game company would figure out how resource management was going to work and then build the ships. A normal game company is not CIG.
With the dev cycle being so long for Star Citizen, how do you deal with the ever-changing graphics tech and rework and still keep moving forward?
We have to maintain everything that's been built. We can't say, oh, we've done this new technology, but these 5 spaceships don't work anymore. That's just not an option. So we'll ship 2 versions of the shader, the new one and the old one, and then somebody, when they get the chance, will go back to that ship, assign the new shader, maybe fix up anything that needs fixing up, and then we're good again. But we can't demand that they work at the same frequency as us. So we'll do the new technology and they will opt into it when they get bound to it. And that's constantly happening. We have lots of different technologies that are in progress, have been rolled out across the assets.
I imagine animation is going to be a major factor in this
Absolutely.
too.
Say you have something on top of the Gladius, the NPC needs to be able to get up there, which means that they need to understand that in order to get up there, I need to grab the ladders, move them over to the Gladius, and then when they get up there, you need to make sure that they've got the animations to enter and it's all the correct metrics, which isn't always the case, so then you've got to go back to the artist and say, this isn't a metric, and usually you have to design a metric first and then get them to change their baby into something that you've written down months or sometimes years later.
Will ships with docking collars on top, such as the Constellation, be reworked in the future, or will there be a way to use these? I don't see how we can reach them.
Just got to believe. Ideally, we'd have them all on the side, and I think as we go through the gold standards on a lot of ships, you'll see that happen. But if for some reason we can't, and they're on the top or they're on the bottom, gravity control will help you in that instance, and that you will be able to turn off gravity for that area, and then you can just out the.
See, this is all like news to me, because I'm sure John said to me in the past that no, we've got to go on the side, and I'm like, oh god, all right, fair enough.
I don't want to give you the hope of.
Yeah, now you give me that hope, John. So every time I'm going to come to you and be like, no, just change gravity, it's fine.
All of their
they're like fighting.
damage messages were
I didn't notice
created
that.
for a damage feature that was worked on many years ago, and now we're like, well, that works for salvage, but the some of it works great, some of it didn't. I love supporting new features. For us to kind of take all of the damage meshes and the UV2s on ships and everything and do them to a gold standard is years of work. Yeah. And I don't want to be the person that's holding back a feature that can be really good fun for the sake of me being like, oh, well, you can kind of see through that bit, and then you kind of see through this bit.
Yeah, a lot of our ships were made before we had, there was no feature work had been done on it, so we didn't know how we were going to tackle it. So we were just making the best decisions we could at the time.
It's more the older content that was kind of, when we first started out, we were kind of discovering what a ship.
It's why each one of these that we make, we get better at it.
Yeah.
Ideally.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
The Rock DS.
The Rock DS, yep. But yeah, Is
Cut
that
them off. And it's like, no,
Yeah.
terminate it. Cut them off.
Oh, that was part of the
Was that
thing.
the
I thought
emergency
he was
line?
done.
Yeah, kill it.
Here we are, a couple of years running.
Theaters of War guy, Sean Tracy. Couple years running on Theaters of War, right? So, yeah, I mean, I just look at that and go, it was a bad decision to do open development. No matter what, I think if whatever it took, I think we would have gotten a better game if we never did open development, open play, selling spaceships, all these things. I think we would have ended up with a better game, but I don't think we would have ended up with the crazy potential experience that we have now. Right? Would we have some of the crazy shit that can happen in Star Citizen now? I just don't think so. But it's I'm not sure if we will ever have a good game because of this. It's a tough one. We might not. I'm going to stick around for the ride to find out, but I don't know. The more Gal Got 100 videos I watch, the less confidence I have.